Hi guys, welcome to the Music B&B. My name is Colin Jane. Today we're reacting to Spaceman 5.0, the side project of an artist that I know pretty well by now called Sodia. Reacted to Sodia stuff on this channel before and even Spaceman 5.0 stuff. So this album is called The Heims. So this EP album project of about 16 minutes long is called The Heims. Let's dive into it, and as we listen along, I'm also going to give you some background about every song. There's quite a bit to get into. There's a lot of lore. Let's go. Odorless Maiden. So it's a concept album. It tells the origin story of other girls who's related to Z, who's from is a mascot from another project called Bo. So yeah, this is very lore heavy. I'm not going to dive too much into all of that if you don't know, but there's a translation of the voiceover here saying all is calm, all is calm. Enchants my tranquility, the sailor scouts are near, my presence unscent my smell, ambience, to forgive, to learn, and to adapt with drainful inhabitants, a moment not to mourn, my hands to the heart, open my eyes, stretching far beyond the peripheral vision, requiem, my odorless maiden. Whatever that means. I think, I've had it translated so I can understand what she's saying, but I don't know what it means. Almost like this kind of chiming, ticking clock going on here. So this feels a bit like a movie intro. Intro getting into something. It's definitely building. God, it's getting creepier. Creepy vibes. Clashing kind of chords and sounds going on. Feels like Zelda music when it's like Twilight Princess kind of dark realm music. Okay, I kind of needed to move on now. I think we've heard enough of this. Repetition's a bit too much at this point, but it's dying down for an intro. I don't know, I'd want maybe more a transition into the next song, but we'll see what the next song's about. Witch of Time and Delays, a very dark track. Girl is blessed or cursed with divine powers of controlling time from all realities. However, every time she uses it, her voice becomes weaker to the point of her becoming mute. Slowly but surely she becomes Witch of Time and Delays. Okay, so it feels quite video gamey. Like this would be a very good kind of unique, weird, dark video game soundtrack. I can really hear that, and I think that's because the instruments themselves do sound quite MIDI, but that kind of MIDI that's almost nostalgic. It's kind of a follow-on from the previous track with the drums. It's got this kind of ticking clock kind of feel. Not much has changed, I'd say, percussion-wise. It's very tinny, like that tick-tocking sound. It's okay for a bit. Maybe there's a bit too much of it here. What's interesting as well is all of those chimey drums, they're all in the left speaker for me, which is an unusual production choice. It does feel quite timey though. Things feel urgent, speeding up, but there's that clock tick, you know. It does feel like someone's gaining powers. The picture that is being painted very well here. It's what I imagine is some kind of anime video game where someone's doing something kind of evil. The next track is Boundless Mermaid. A girl who was once curious about the sea swims to see the stars. She unfortunately drowns and comes back blessed with the power to subvert water and space, becoming the mermaid who can transform her mermaid tail into legs, but can't use them properly on the ground, so she has to rely on watery grounds to stand afloat. But there's so much lore here. Okay, I'm enjoying the difference in percussion on this one. We're speeding up. All of these songs to me so far have sounded like someone transforming or falling through into some pit of darkness, or some giant energy field has been put up around them. You know, it's that kind of like final boss kind of feel building to something. Okay, we got The Fairy Apprentice. Track is about the fourth girl, a lone one-armed wolf obsessed with magic. One day she overuses her magic to save her master, which makes her unable to use magic ever again. It gets cast aside like trash. Vengeful, she defeats her master and gets blessed, or cursed, as some might put it, with using trickery and illusion magic to cast her previous self back to hell. So there. So again, we kind of got that tinny, drummy sound again, and it's starting to grate on me more and more. It feels like a drum kit that has had all of the frequencies taken out of it except for the high end. So it just feels like a big, almost jangly, Christmassy sleigh bell that's being played on in my left ear, to the point of almost annoyance, I would say. You can probably hear it now that I mention it. Just bring in a little bit of the mid-range and perhaps balance it between the two speakers, or have at least some percussion here, some percussion there, just going around the place. And there was like some crashes that went in the other speaker then. At this point, like a few of the songs, they're a bit much of a muchness for me. They all feel blended together. So, girl from the first track is back again. The translation is, in the seeds of plague, the black spectre, impure with a dazzling solace, flapping its petals and echoing its shores, emerging from the flawed. I am human with wings and teeth, a night of subtlety. In your light, a dark desire I demand. I stain my dress with red tears, streaming from the weakened flesh. With happiness I shall bite your lips, and with sorrow I smile vaguely. I shall be free, the butterfly vampire. We all know what's going on. We all understand this. It's very niche. Very niche. I love these choir sounds, these MIDI choir sounds. I think I would like a bit more variation musically. They all feel like some kind of tension is going on. Like, we need to act. All the tracks have felt like that. Like, oh, no, we gotta do something about this. There's less of a calm, less of a roller coaster, more of a constant uphill with no down. This is Terra Priestess, the sixth girl who all in her life was trained to become a protector of mankind. However, her own people turned their back on her, which made her give up on everything. She then instead wove to do the opposite instead. Now we've got Seraphim 1. A blind girl, the leader, was unsure on what path to take since she was fascinated by both heaven and hell. Cast aside and burned alive, she comes back as the Seraphim angel of light and despair to cast supreme judgment on both good and bad. She always keeps her eyes closed into people believing she's still blind, and only opens them when she's ready to deliver the judgment. Now that makes more sense. She's the most makes sense character. Quite jungly kind of beat. Okay, funky little groove. Switching up a bit. Likes the speed up and slow down. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that in this. Seraphim 2 arise. A track that all of the princesses have arisen and meeting Z, their supposed 6th ranger and creator. To be continued? Ooh, abrupt ending. Okay. Right. Let's give this project a bit of a review. Flow-wise, for me, it's probably a 5 out of 10. Like, to be honest, they all kind of felt like they were doing the same thing. Each track felt like it was like building to something, like some boss was gathering all its power. That's what it felt like. Something was gaining power and floating into the air for the final boss mode. But it never kind of let up on that, to the point where my ears started to get almost annoyed by it, the fatigue of it, you know. It's kind of like there was no release, there was no like here comes the hero kind of feel to it, or there was no kind of calmer, nicer, happier bits, or a really slow, sad bit. Yes, there was speeding up and slowing down by doing the tempo trick of just, you know, let's make that faster, let's make that slower. But I mean, it just kind of did that throughout. So flow was pretty much standard throughout. There was, the roller coaster I was on was pretty much the same level throughout. Lyrically, obviously there's no lyrics, so we can ignore that. Artwork wise, it looks like 6 kind of screen grabs of art put together. It would almost be better instead of 6 pictures for them to kind of be interlinked together, I feel. So maybe a 5 as well for the art. Production wise, it's that very game sounding, old school gaming sounding of around maybe a late from 2005 to 2015, that kind of MIDI sound you'd get in a lot of games, and you'd hear it especially in, like, let's say in like Nintendo music or any kind of anime game that would be the music and the background for it, which is fine. You know, I actually have a soft spot for those kind of almost fake instrument sounds. They're deliberately fake like that. Production, I'm going to give a 6, mainly because I think the production and care taken to the percussion to support the music wasn't really done too well. Kind of lots of low end taken out, and a lot of, you know, I would have loved to have heard like a bass drum come in and out, but I get the aesthetic we're going for. And then, yeah, I think I would have said singing as well, rating on singing, but there isn't really any singing. I think my ears just kind of wanted a break at times. They wanted maybe calmer passages, as well as the chaotic things. I guess I kind of wanted what you'd get from a video game. You know, you get the calm bit, and then you get the build up, and then you get the boss, and then you get the hero showing up, and there's the hero music, and then there's the finish, and there's the celebration. You know, I kind of wanted all of that, whereas all of this from start to finish felt like a build up to something, and then where was that, you know? So the feel of it felt wrong when put together, but hearing one of these tracks on their own would have been fine. You know, I get the track and I get the feel of it, but that would be listening to one of them. They seem weird all smashed together with that same vibe. And this is just a personal take, but let me know, guys, in the comments, what do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know. Remember that this is just my opinion, and there's nothing personal involved with it. It's just a feeling. So yeah, let me know. And remember, in a world where everyone wants to be heard and no one's doing the listening, be the one that does the listening. Goodbye, I guess. Feels so good to say hello, 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 hello. And now it feels so right to say I miss you, I love you. And God, it feels so good to say hello. God, it feels so good to say hello.
Bye, ladies and gentlemen.